You never know what someone's battling with in private. Like with the whole Chadwick Boseman situation, everyone was like, oh, this is a learning experience, except apparently fucking not. And I get that we're talking about a famous person. People are interested, but those people also deserve privacy. And the idea, or really not the idea, the fact that because someone wants to even try to have privacy, all of a sudden they're then dealt all these conspiracy theories and harassment is insane. But that's the story and my feelings on it. And then Twitter is dead. Elon officially killed the bird with his cold, awkward hands. In his latest, and according to the people who pay him $8 a month, greatest move, Elon rebranding the platform X. With as of this morning, that blue Twitter bird, one of the most recognizable logos ever, being replaced with a stylized X. And this after Elon pinned the new logo to his page on Saturday and saying in a tweet, if that's what they're still called, and soon we shall bid adieu to the Twitter brand and gradually all the birds. And last night, Elon and CEO Linda Yaccarino each sharing photos of the new X logo projected on their headquarters building. And Linda saying, X is the future state of unlimited interactivity, centered in audio, video, messaging, payments, banking, creating a global marketplace for ideas, goods, services, and opportunities. Powered by AI, X will connect us all in ways we're just beginning to imagine. And Elon reportedly saying that tweets will now be called X's, though that won't apply to retweets, with Elon saying that the quote, concept should be rethought. And while this is seemingly out of nowhere, if you actually look into it, this is not a surprise move. Because Musk has been talking about Twitter becoming X, the everything app, for almost a year. And according to court filings, the company started transitioning back in April by changing their name from Twitter Inc. to X Corp. A name that, honestly, in a movie sounds too on the nose for an evil corporation. You know, with this, the rebrand has faced its fair share of criticism, with creators like Moist Critical speaking out, saying taking one of the most recognizable brand names in the world and changing it to X is unfathomably dumb. Sounds like a porn site, and the logo looks like the emblem to a bad Call of Duty game battles team from 2008. You also have others saying, I'm not gonna use the new name. With people saying things like, just like the Willis Tower in Chicago will always be the Sears Tower, X will be Twitter. Or imagine how, like in LA, people are like, oh, crypto.com arena, scoff, scoff. But, you know, as of now, the domain x.com leads you to Twitter's homepage, though the domain twitter.com is still live as well. But also, even further than this last year, Elon's fascination with the letter X is actually well documented. In fact, this isn't even the first x.com that he's created. Right? If you look back to 1999, he co-founded an x.com, which later merged to become PayPal. I'm also buying the domain back in 2017. Then, of course, there's SpaceX. He also recently launched an artificial intelligence startup called XAI. But with all that said, you know, who knows? Are we witnessing one of the richest men in the world just doing an exceedingly number of just chaotic, stupid things? Or are we just early days on the road to him creating like America's version of WeChat? Granted, everything we've witnessed from Musk over the past year does not make me feel confident in that second option. But, you know, weirder and dumber things have happened, so let's wait and see. And then, Barbenheimer dropped over the weekend, and it was even more explosive than expected, with both movies making box office history, which in post-COVID times is a massive, massive deal. Right, for Barbie, it marked the highest opening weekend for a film this year so far, as well as the highest opening weekend ever for a female director, with the film grabbing a massive $162 million domestically, which puts Greta Gerwig's Barbie well ahead of Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, which was the previous record holder. Notably, Barbie's audience was also 65% female, but as the Washington Post noted, as far as box office history is concerned, movies that open over $100 million often have a majority male audience, including both Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman. You also had Oppenheimer surpassing box office expectations, bringing in $82 million domestically, which, yeah, sounds like a lot less than Barbie, but still very super impressive. I mean, we're talking about a rated R 3-hour movie that I know that it's about, you know, the nuke, but is largely a movie about a bunch of men in a small room talking for 3 hours, and to someone who watched it, it's still fantastic. Though I will say with all this, I do wonder what these movies would have grossed if like they didn't happen to fall on the same weekend. Because while I do not doubt that either movie would have been successful, there was a very special weird buzz around Barbenheimer, obviously leading to a lot of ticket sales for people actually wanting to do the double feature, or at the very least just leading to so much more free promotion. Right, the memes were everywhere and getting millions, if not tens and hundreds of millions of impressions. And all of this leading to the box office having the biggest collective weekend since the pandemic. And not just that, it's also the 4th biggest weekend in history with over $300 million made, with it only falling behind weekends led by massive franchises like Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and Star Wars The Force Awakens. And then when you look internationally, Barbie did $337 million and Oppenheimer did $174. But yeah, that's the news around this, and if you went to see the movies, I'd love to know your thoughts on them or just even the experience. I'm gonna actually try and catch Barbie this week. I was only able to see Oppenheimer, but it was very cool to see the theaters packed again. And I will say it was also so interesting to see like Barbie set up as this event that people actually got dressed up to go to. I don't know, it just felt like there there was a good energy at the theaters this weekend. And then Ubisoft is deleting your games. At least that's what users are saying after an email from the company went viral warning users that their accounts could be purged for inactivity. With the user recently sharing that email on Twitter, with it appearing like the user was given 30 days to cancel the closure or they'll permanently lose access to their account, including their purchased games. And this thing blew up with people furious, saying things like either refund every dollar people paid for the games you are removing access to or abandon this policy. If they don't, I can't wait to see the litigation. They'll be taken for everything they're worth. And hey, Ubisoft, this is really messed up. You should never, and I mean never, delete someone's account for inactivity. Now, currently, it's not clear how long would be too long to be inactive for Ubisoft, with it in 2021 being reported that company officials claimed that only accounts inactive for over 4 years were at risk of closure. But according to their terms of service, it could be as little as 6 months. Now, with this, Ubisoft responded to the initial tweet that went viral, reminding users that they had 30 days to cancel the account closure and offering resources to use it to prevent the loss of their games. Also, some on Twitter said that Ubisoft may be required to close inactive accounts under data protection laws. Well, I think for a lot of people, this is kind of like a non-issue. To me, it really does highlight one of the pitfalls of going digital instead of physical when it comes to video games. And keep in mind, I say that as someone that I think 98% of the games I've played in the last at least 5 years have all been digital. Right? For the most part, the convenience outweighs all other things for me. But we're also living at a time where people are worried about the preservation of video games, especially digital-only games. Because, for example, earlier this year, Nintendo's Wii U and 3DS eShop, it closed. And with that, around 1,000 other digital-only games just disappeared, which has also led some users to say, hey, I'm not pirating video games. I'm like a video game historian preserving history. But that said, to the 3 gamers that watch this show, what are your thoughts here? And then, with the summer in full swing, many of you beautiful bastards out there are gearing up for vacation, or perhaps you're taking more time to explore your surroundings. But the weather and the elements shouldn't be a hurdle whether you're traveling or you're traversing your hometown. And that's exactly where the fantastic sponsor of today's show, Vessi, comes in. Vessi's are your whatever life has in store for you sneakers. They're lightweight, waterproof, and snowproof, so you can enjoy the outdoors anywhere in any weather. And with great choices like the weekend sneaker or the laceless boardwalk sneakers, you won't be disappointed. They really do feel like you're wearing a sock, so you barely notice that you're wearing them at all. With a wide assortment of colors and styles to choose from, they're great for the whole family. And I do think it's very cool that the Vessi team helps support fresh water programs around the world with over 22 million liters of drinking water provided by clean water projects funded by the Vessi community. So join the movement today and check out Vessi and all their styles at vessi.com/DeFranco and get 15% off your entire order. Go get your style and size now. And then, you know what's really boring? Murder trials, apparently, because last month, an Oklahoma jury convicted a man for second-degree manslaughter after he beat his girlfriend's 2-year-old son to death in 2018. And after that trial had wrapped up, the Oklahoman got its hands on security footage of the district judge there, Tracy Soderstrom, and they found her sneaking time on her phone under the bench, with her spending hours sending text messages, watching GIFs, and scrolling through social media throughout the 7-day trial, and doing this for minutes at a time during jury selection, opening statements, and witness testimony. She even checked her phone in the middle of a tearful testimony by the victim's mother. And so you have the district attorney saying in response, jurors are banned from using cell phones in the courtroom during trials because we expect them to give their full time and attention to the evidence being presented. I would expect and hope the court would hold itself to the same standard required of the jurors, regardless of the type of case. Now, in her defense, though it's barely a defense, the judge was only sworn in on January 9th, and this was reportedly her first case. But also, she appears to be a massive hypocrite because she herself instructed the jury to turn off their phones so they could concentrate, indicating she knew the rules. And so now you have a judicial ethics panel that's investigating this whole thing, and we're going to have to wait to see what happens to her and the defendant in the trial. And then, Republicans in Congress are now proposing legislation that would expand the child tax credit to unborn fetuses. Right, according to reports, the move is part of a package of bills in the House called the Providing for Life Act that's being led by Republican Representative Ashley Hinson. And among other measures, it would expand the refundable child tax credit to a $3,500 cap for kids 5 and under, and to $4,500 for children 6 to 17. Though notably, parents would be required to be employed to get the tax credit. One of the wildest parts of the bill is that it would also extend the tax credit to fetuses retroactively. Or specifically, the proposal makes it so that once a baby is born, parents can claim the child tax credit for the year before that during the pregnancy on top of the tax credit for the current year. And this isn't just some one-off thing. Senator Marco Rubio has also introduced a companion bill in the Senate. And with this, you have many saying it's like a weird situation, arguing it's great that low-income families in need are able to get some extra money to cover pregnancies and births, which are so expensive here. You also have people saying it doesn't go nearly far enough to help compensate people who are either forced to carry out pregnancies or risk their time, money, and livelihoods to travel for an abortion because of restrictive state bans supported by these same Republicans. And some saying Republicans are doing this as a roundabout way of saying, hey, life starts at conception. This is considered a child. But for now, we'll have to wait to see what happens here. And then, Martin Luther King Jr. once said, one of the problems that we had in this country is that we all too often have socialism for the rich and rugged free enterprise capitalism capitalism for the poor. And over the years, we've seen that. Wall Street, banks, the auto industry all bailed out. Meanwhile, you, Joe Blow, go fuck yourself. Pull yourself up by those bootstraps. And well, now you have people saying, well, there's no more affirmative action for minority students thanks to the Supreme Court. Hey, at least there's still affirmative action for rich kids. And this, as a new bombshell study was just released today by Opportunity Insights, a group of Harvard economists that studies inequality. And a very key thing here is that this kind of study has actually never been done before. It's the first of its kind in several different ways. Right, first of all, the researchers here drew from a vast wealth of resources ranging from admissions information and standardized test scores to data from the IRS, with a study specifically zeroing in on what it refers to as the Ivy Plus colleges, which are the 8 Ivy League schools, as well as Stanford, MIT, Duke, and the University of Chicago. You know, it's not a shock that these elite universities have a lot of rich kids, right? Because it's already been established that 1 in 6 Ivy League students have parents in the top 1% of income earners. But part of the reason this study is so monumental is that